Welcome to the SUNY Potsdam Library's tutorial on plagiarism. In this video, we'll be discussing what plagiarism is and why it is considered such a serious offense at the college level. We'll then take a look at different types of plagiarism and how students can avoid committing them. It's essential for you to be familiar with plagiarism because it's one of the most serious infractions a student can commit in the classroom. This is why it's prominently included in the SUNY Potsdam Academic Code of Honor. Consequences for plagiarism can be very severe. Frequently, it involves the offending student receiving a 0 on the assignment they plagiarized, but it can also escalate to automatic failure of the class, and at some universities has even resulted in the rescinding of degrees or expulsion from school. Now, you'll hear many of your professors mention plagiarism, and a section about it will frequently be included in your class's syllabus, but what exactly is it? Well, according to the Academic Code of Honor, it is, quote, presenting as one's own the distinctive ideas, facts, or words of another, in part or in whole, without appropriate acknowledgement of the source. Or in simpler terms, plagiarism is passing someone else's work off as your own. Now, this may entail turning in an assignment or paper written by anyone other than yourself, directly copying someone's work word for word, copying the sentence structure or content of their work without providing quotes, or failing to cite the sources where you drew your information from. It's also important to note that plagiarism can extend beyond simply written text. Computer science majors who copy someone else's computer code and pass it off as their own are plagiarizing, and so too are music composition majors who turn in another person's composition. So why do professors consider this to be such a serious offense? Well, for one thing, you're here in college to learn, and you aren't learning anything by turning in somebody else's work. At the university level, you'll be drawing from and building upon other people's work, but you need to be sure to make it your own, synthesizing their ideas with the ideas from other sources and ideas of your own as well, and expressing all of that in your own words. Copying someone else's work doesn't accomplish any of this. But it's also very important that you provide credit where it's due to the scholars and writers whose work you're using. Put simply, information has value. This value may not be monetary in nature, and in a world where virtually every piece of information is available online, we can all fall into a trap of thinking that if a piece of information didn't cost us anything, it's ours to do with as we will. But it's not. Ideas belong to those who create them, and thus, if we use the information created by someone else, it's essential that we give them credit. As college students, you're now creators of information as well, and just as you would want credit for your own work, and wouldn't want somebody stealing it from you and passing it off as theirs, you must give credit to those whose information you use. And lastly, plagiarism is a demonstration of ignorance. By committing it, a student is admitting that either they don't know the rules surrounding plagiarism, or they don't know where the information they're using comes from. Or worse, they don't care. But by avoiding plagiarism, you're demonstrating your knowledge of why information has value, and knowledge of the sources you've used to write your paper and craft your arguments. Now let's take a look at different types of plagiarism as defined by Turnitin.com. Turnitin's plagiarism spectrum involves 10 different types of plagiarism, although I'll only be discussing 3 of them in this video. For more information on this spectrum, please see the link included below. The first type of plagiarism is what Turnitin refers to as the clone. This is the most blatant form of plagiarism, in which the student simply copies, word for word, the work of another person. In this example, we can see the original text sentence on top, and below it the student's work, which is a straight cut and paste of that sentence. This is what most students think of when they think of plagiarism. Pause the video for a moment to take a closer look at the 2 passages, and then restart when you're ready. A second type of plagiarism is the find and replace, which involves a student substituting synonyms or similar words to some of those in the original text, while still keeping the original's format, structure, and intent. Again, this is plagiarism, even if many students don't realize it. You can't simply use the thesaurus feature of your word processing software to change a few words around and think you've made the passage your own, because this is still essentially the author's original sentence. Instead, you need to put these ideas into your own, fully original wording. Once again, pause the video to more closely examine these two passages, and in particular, note how similar the unshaded sections of the bottom passage are to the corresponding parts of the top passage, even if the wording isn't exactly the same. A third type of plagiarism is the retweet, in which the student commits either of the first two types, but then includes a citation, as if they were simply retweeting the original author's work. While directly quoting from a source is acceptable, this sentence isn't in quotation marks, and the student is still claiming the original author's text and wording as their own. Again, pause the video to see how similar these two passages are. We've seen examples of different types of plagiarism, but let's take a look at something that isn't plagiarism. In this example, the student has taken the ideas of the original text, correctly interpreted their meaning and intent, and put them into their own words, and they've included a citation to give credit to the author of the source material. This is what you should be aiming for. And one last time, pause the video to see how the second passage restates the content of the first, but does so in completely original language. Now that we have some examples of what constitutes plagiarism, how can we avoid it? Well, first and foremost, do not copy someone else's work. This may seem obvious, but many students still attempt to sneak it past their professors, and in an age when software exists that easily finds plagiarism, those students don't get away with it. Often, students resort to the cut and paste method of plagiarism because they've procrastinated and are in a time crunch. So one method of avoiding plagiarism is to be sure to start your assignment early and give yourself plenty of time to complete it before it's due. Second, always cite your sources. As previously mentioned, information has value, and we need to credit the people who created the information that we use for our work. Whether you're directly quoting a source or merely discussing ideas it contains, you still need to cite it to show where that quote or those ideas came from. And this still holds true even after you've put those ideas in your own words. Also, by quoting and citing other people's work, you're showing off your knowledge. You've gathered these sources, you've deciphered their meaning, and you've used them to argue your points in your paper, and all of that demonstrates to your professor that you have a knowledge base about the topic. Third, don't simply mimic your source's word choice or sentence structure, or just change some words around. Instead, develop your skills of paraphrasing. Paraphrasing involves putting the ideas from your source into your own words. What college professors want to see is that you can take those ideas, understand them, analyze them, and express them in your words. When you're doing research, it's a good idea to take notes about your sources and to take them in your own words rather than just writing straight from the source itself. And even so, if you're struggling to successfully paraphrase a certain passage and find that you're mimicking the original text, try closing your notes, taking a break for a few minutes, and then coming back and writing from memory. Remember, you want to include the original source's ideas, but not its word choice or sentence structure. So if you're not looking at it, it may be easier to put it in your own words. Also, if there's a particular phrase you just can't find an alternative for, place only that phrase in quotation marks while putting the rest of the sentence in your own words. Just be sure to indicate where that phrase comes from, and of course, cite the source material. Finally, if you're worried that your writing may be too close to the original, have someone proofread your paper for you. This could be a friend, a classmate, or even one of the tutors at the SUNY Potsdam Writer's Block. Ask your proofreader to review the original source and then compare it to the portion of your paper that you're concerned about, because this second set of eyes might notice similarities that could be considered plagiarism. Remember, simply repeating an author's ideas in their own words or maintaining the original structure but changing a few words around is going to get you hit for plagiarism. But demonstrating that you understand those ideas and can express them in your own terms is what college-level research, analysis, and writing is all about.